Welcome to TUTV. I'm your host, Aristotle Orsini.
And I'm your fellow host, Joe McCurdy. This is the first time I've been hosting, I think since A, I got a haircut, and B, since the new semester. So I'm glad to be back on the desk, or on the table.
Chair.
Whatever we're here.
We're at a chairs.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, Aristotle, thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be here sitting next to you. But we also have predictions of snow tomorrow. And I know here on TUTV that we've wanted to start I wouldn't say a gambling ring, but maybe something close. I think we're going to start...
We'll go with betting.
Yeah,
it's a safer word.
That is a safer word. I'm not very good with safe.
Anyway, Joe, what were you saying about betting?
I think we're gonna do a parlay.
Yeah, a parlay.
So over under an inch of
as Joe's trying to say, over under an inch of snow for tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as a spoiler, I've already heard from Weather Boy. I'm choosing the under.
And then we'll do a parlay between over the course of the week how cold it will be, because it was like 70 degrees like 3 days ago. So the fact that it's 30 is really, really frustrating.
That's true.
So let's see how that weather fluctuates.
Yeah. My through line, over under 4 days under 40 degrees. I'm picking the under.
I like that. That. It's post Super Bowl. We've had a little deprivation from the sports betting, but I think this will do fine, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, with that, we're gonna throw you over to the desk. It was a pleasure being back hosting with you guys.
Hi, welcome to the desk. I'm Anderson Bell.
And I'm Hunter Lynn. Good evening. We're receiving breaking news here that former University of Tulsa TV news host Joe McCurdy has been arrested for several charges. More updates on those later today. But first, let's get into world news.
Last Tuesday, President Donald Trump announced plans for an American long-term ownership position in the Gaza Strip. Speaking alongside Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, Trump voiced his vision to turn the war-torn territory into, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East. The plan has drawn criticism from Israel's neighbors, especially Egypt and Jordan. Trump has proposed relocating Palestinians to those countries from Gaza, claiming that if they had an alternative, they'd much rather not go back to Gaza. Among Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip, there is little desire to leave the territory, while nationalist Israeli politicians such as Gideon Sa'ar have praised the idea of relocating Gaza's population. U.S. Democrats have universally rejected the idea. Senator Chris Van Hollen told MSNBC that the plan is, quote, ethnic cleansing by another name. Some Republicans have praised Trump's idea as a worthwhile investment, while others oppose it, citing Trump's promises during the election campaign to avoid involving the U.S. in foreign conflicts.
After nearly 3 years of full-scale conflict, Russia's invasion of Ukraine shows few signs of slowing, with large-scale drone attacks still striking Ukrainian and Russian territory. Ukraine has struck several targets deep inside Russia in recent weeks, targeting military installations such as chemical plants and ammunition storage. The Ukrainian General Staff has claimed to have struck up to 700 miles beyond the front line, thanks in part to American-made ATACMS missiles. In late January, over 120 Ukrainian drones attacked Russia, striking an oil refinery and targets in Moscow, with Russia launching more than 50 drones into Ukraine that same night. Questions remain as to what the political climate of Europe will look like after the war. Some politicians, including Polish President Andrzej Duda, want to cut ties with Russia by dismantling gas pipelines connecting the country to the rest of Europe. Additionally, Duda wants to see Russia relinquish its occupied territory in Ukraine, calling any annexation of Ukrainian territory a violation of international law.
The United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, saw plans for mass layoffs last week as the Trump administration put on leave all hires not deemed essential. The sudden move was spearheaded by Elon Musk and based on claims about the agency's use of federal funds. The move was put on hold until at least Friday by a federal judge. The Trump administration has prioritized slashing government spending, but foreign aid accounts for less than 1% of our nation's budget. The White House named several U.S. aid projects in its news release, announcing the firing of thousands from the agency. But most, including the funding of a quote-unquote transgender opera in Colombia and a DEI musical in Ireland, were false or misleading claims. It is unclear whether the Trump administration can fully dissolve U.S. aid without congressional approval. Many lawmakers have claimed that U.S. aid is vital to countering Chinese and Russian influence overseas. Trump froze U.S. foreign aid with an executive order on his first day in office.
Fighting has erupted in the Democratic Republic of Congo in recent weeks, with Rwanda-supported militia rebels capturing several towns in the east of Africa's second largest country. Rwanda has rejected claims that its actions are fueling instability in the region. The action centers around the March 23 movement known as M23. The group, which a United Nations report determined was founded by Rwanda, have led insurgencies against the DRC since 2012. Since January, M23 has seized control of several Congolese mining towns, including the city of Goma, home to nearly 1 million people. Rwanda has denied any involvement in igniting the conflict, but has claimed that the DRC is planning a major attack. With the diplomatic situation between Rwanda and the DRC deteriorating, some have voiced concerns of a renewed full-scale war in the region. The last major conflict there, the Second Congo War, was the deadliest since World War II, with over 5 million deaths.
So, a lot of dire stuff going on in the world right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to see this escalation of several conflicts in several different parts of the world, including many that aren't often reported on, especially not over here in the United States. Of course, the point kind of becomes moot when you take into consideration that the Trump administration wants, by and large, to stop foreign aid entirely.
For sure. But now we've got lots of stuff going on in the state of Oklahoma and here on campus as well. We've got presidential elections for the Student Government Association coming up. Got a good piece on that here in a little bit.
We certainly do. I spoke to incumbent president and presidential candidate Michael Combs last week. Here's what he had to say. I'm here with Student Government Association President Michael Combs. Mike, it's good to talk to you today.
Hunter, thank you for having me on.
So first thing, it's your second semester now, president of SGA. You came in with a lot of promises, and you wanted to keep as many of those as possible. Where do you think you are on some of your bigger campaign goals?
Yeah, no, I feel like we are on a very good track within SGA. One of the big things we were touching on was like the dining scene, with whether that be directly in Pat case or in the student union. And one of the big things that's occurred this semester, we passed legislation within the Student Senate to address these concerns through what is called the University of Tulsa Culinary Council. So I actually met, it's every Friday or every other Friday, depending on the week. We meet with the administration and the leaders of the dining scene here at Tulsa, whether that be with Catering 1894 or the Director of Housing and Dining at TU, to talk about these different issues and to address them. So any students are always welcome there. So we're trying to address them to the best of our ability. And I believe that the university has stepped up within the dining scene over the past year. I've seen Pat Case improve a lot in the dining options. And then also within the student union, we have a variety of different options. And I know a lot of people are wondering about, like, hey, the availability, the time slots, like in the afternoon or evenings on the weekends, it's hard to find a food that like fits for you, which is one things we're trying to address now, is expanding the hours, but it all comes down to the budgeting, you know. So in addition to that as well, one of the main things was working towards some sort of mental health day or some sort of advocacy for student athletes, which we've worked on a student athlete Senate seat within the Senate, and going to be continuing to work on that one as well. And I've talked with athletic directors and different administrators within the athletic department, and we're kind of pivoting and switching more of like, oh, can we get like a singular health day for student athletes, and more focusing on supporting the Student Athlete Advisory Council. We've been working a lot within the administrators, trying to support organizations to the best of our ability, and addressing any problems that we may see.
A lot of concerns were brought up in the past regarding the availability of meals on TU campus that meet dietary restrictions such as vegetarian meals, vegan meals, halal meals. Where do you think the dining scene on campus is regarding those concerns?
Yeah, I think it's in a very great position. They're currently working with the Center of Global Engagement to help engage with different dietary restrictions or different even events that are pertaining to our international students or people from different cultural backgrounds. And I believe you can order specific different meals at the dining hall and get that pre-made for you there as well. So the dining hall and the administration takes that very serious, and they're working hard to help meet the standards for those students.
Sure. Now, in the past 2 years, the University of Tulsa has brought in 2 of the largest freshman classes in recent history, and there are some associated questions regarding that as to whether Student Government Senate should expand to represent that increase in the student body. Where is your opinion regarding those concerns?
I think right now we have an upcoming election, and I don't know if we have all those Senate seats filled already. So I think we're in a good place right now. We have, I believe, 26 senators currently, and then we have another election coming up. We just swore in another 13, I believe, from last semester. So I think we have plenty of representation and a lot of people engaged with it.
So now to go back to the presidential election, which is coming up with all other SGA elections or all spring SGA elections here in a couple of weeks. You and your administration face a test as to whether students approve of the actions you've taken, and that will be, of course, reflected in that election result. What actions of your administration taken thus far do you think will be your legacy, regardless of what happens in this election?
I think one of the biggest things that we'll have is, number one, our chief elections officer. Within my cabinet, we just did some very big changes to the elections code. Also, I believe we've affected the official authority of SGA to be a prominent figure on campus with students that recognize SGA as well. And we've provided great leadership overall. My cabinet's worked extremely hard on different initiatives, such as the chili cook-off, the Oktoberfest buses. We've had great feedback on stuff like that. We've done a bunch of tabling for timely care. And when it comes to helping students who come to us with problems, we have a very great record of that. For example, the club soccer team came and they're like, hey, we need to go to our nationals tournament. We don't quite have the funding for that. They came and talked to me, and I was able to convince the administration to give them funding for this trip specifically. So.
All right, and I believe that's all the time we have for today. So, President Combs, thank you very much for being on the show.
No, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. And then we will see you next time.
Welcome back to TUTV. I'm Aristotle Orsini here with TUTV senior Caiden Catcher. Caiden, it's wonderful to have you back in the studio.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, this is my last semester here. I'm a senior. I studied English and education. I just finished my English degree last semester, and this semester I am student teaching, so I'm doing 40 hours a week in a school right now. It's a lot of fun. So I can't do TUTV this semester, but I've done it for the last 4 years.
Did you start your first semester?
I did, yeah. I had a friend, he just pulled me aside and was like, you really need to do TUTV. And I had a lot of fraternity brothers in TUTV, and they all encouraged me to do it, so yeah.
What was it that really got you into TUTV, kept you coming for 4 years?
Well, I've always been really interested in writing and journalism, and there wasn't very many outlets. There was the Collegian and stuff like that. But I've always been more interested in multimedia, and so I just started doing this. I started as an anchor, and I was not very good at that because I can't read hardly. And without my glasses, I literally can't see anything. So that was difficult. But yeah, and then I became a show producer after a little bit, and that was a lot of fun. So I did the interviews and set up packages and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite part of being at TU?
Oh, my favorite part about being at TU has definitely been how small it is. I know everyone says that, but it is kind of the best part of TU. It's like a very small community, almost a little city in a bigger city, and I really like that. Yeah. What
are you doing after college? You're about to graduate. You've kind of got one degree now. You're about to get a second one.
Yeah, so the plan right now is to become a teacher, either high school or middle school. Still not really sure which one or where I'm going to teach. I have a couple job offers from several districts I've interned at, so I have some choices, but I might go out of state or who knows what happens. But my plan for right now is to teach as long as I can, and then maybe go to grad school, maybe be a professor, maybe teach internationally. There's a lot of options for me, so I'm just kind of going with the flow right now, but yeah.
What's your favorite memory from the last 4 years, if you had to pick just one?
Of TUTV?
No, the last 4 years, anything, even summers.
God. Probably Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest is the best time ever. It's a wonderful little holiday. Yeah, just designated driving for all of my friends my freshman year was a lot of fun because they were all silly and goofy. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite memories. Of TUTV, me and Joe McCurdy, I think it was our freshman year, we made this tailgate package where we just went up to people at the tailgate and interviewed them. Me and you did the same thing this year. But everyone was hammered at that tailgate. So we got some really good interviews for that. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Caiden. That's all we've got time for today.
Yeah, of course.
Hopefully we'll see you back just one more time before you got to graduate.
Yeah. I'll be Peace out. Cool.
Sawadika TUTV, it is Roma back in Thailand with another episode, and in this one we are in Bangkok doing street food tours with CIS Abroad. This is a great experience. I tried so many different foods, and first we started off in reverse orders, so ice cream, and no complaints with that because this was probably the best ice cream I've ever had. It was Hokkaido. Speaking of, oh my god, mango sticky rice is the best dish ever. There's absolutely no debate in that. And then chestnut Thai sweet noodle.
And welcome back to the desk. I'm Hunter Lynn.
And I'm Bruce Bigler, this time to bring you some of the most exciting entertainment stories of the week. Star of recent box office hit Wicked, Cynthia Erivo, recently disclosed the details of her upcoming album, with plans to be released later this year. In an interview with CBS correspondent Seth Doan, she stated that the album would essentially be composed of just her voice, with her layering vocal lines atop one another and completing it with a melody. The patterns she composes would all be spur of the moment rather than pre-planned, and the lyrics come after the vocal lines are already set, with added descriptions of, quote, some of it being autobiographical, some of it being train of thought, end quote. This is a departure from her first album, Chapter 1, Verses 1, which was constructed with a more traditional style. That album was also created over Zoom and, as Erivo insinuated, felt like less her, as she, quote, was with the wrong people.
The 30th Annual Critics' Choice Awards was held on the 7th of February after being delayed twice due to the LA fires. Like the Grammys, the night began by acknowledging the fires, with the host, Chelsea Handler, announcing that a QR code would flash on the screen throughout the night for viewers to donate if possible. The awards celebrate the best in film and television and are often considered the greatest predictor for the Oscars, which will be held on March 2nd. The movie musical Wicked and the political thriller Conclave tied for most nominations, with each receiving 11, including Best Picture, Director, Cinematography, Supporting Actress, and more. Popular horror film Nosferatu, a horror film many have claimed is a shot-for-shot remake of the original movie of the same name, which itself was an unauthorized reproduction of Bram Stoker's Dracula, won Best Cinematography.
After nearly 10 years as a member of Blackpink, K-pop singer Lisa has begun to branch out. She recently released a single entitled Born Again, partnering with Doja Cat and Ray for this project. It's the latest single off her upcoming solo album, After Ego, which is set to be released February 28th. According to Lisa, she constructed 5 characters within the album, each with their own personality represented by the different styles and genres within the album. In addition to pursuing a solo career while continuing to be in Blackpink, Lisa is set to begin her acting career, debuting as a cast member of Season 3 of The White Lotus, an HBO drama series, which is set to premiere February 16th.
Sabrina Carpenter recently announced on Instagram that she will be releasing a deluxe version of her Grammy-winning album Short and Sweet on February 14th, Valentine's Day, as a thank you for giving this album 2 Grammys. The deluxe album will include 4 new tracks, 15 Minutes, Couldn't Make It Any Harder, Busy Woman, and Bad Reviews. It will also include a remix of her Grammy-nominated song Please, 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 which was the first of her songs to rank first on the Billboard Hot 100. This remix will feature infamous country singer and actress Dolly Parton, who's been raking in Grammy Awards since winning Best Female Pop Vocal Performance in 1978. And yet another episode in the long-lived career of Dolly Parton, best known, I think, for being an amusement park magnate and nothing else. Bruce?
The amusement park is awesome, though. Dollywood, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I've been. It got rained out the one time that I went there, so kind of disappointing, but still a good half day.
Even then, still a 10 out of 10, huh?
Yeah.
I might have to make the drive out to, where is it, Gatlinburg or something?
In Tennessee, that's
Some
all I
town
know.
in Tennessee. Any town in Tennessee is too much for me, I think, as a South Carolina man myself. Speaking of South Carolina, things that are hot, which is normally the state of Oklahoma, but not this week because it's been cold. Speaking of cold, let's go to the weather with Carter Reed.
Opening up now with our 7-day weather, we're going to be finishing out today with a high of about 38 degrees. Moving through with this winter weather, we're going to be seeing Wednesday. We likely won't be seeing all that much accumulation. It should stay to our north and east. We will be getting around 1/4 of an inch to 1/10, depending on how much actually sticks here. The icing will be the worst risk with that early Wednesday morning. So, be careful if you're a commuter. Otherwise, there shouldn't be too much to worry about. Moving out through the rest of the week now, we will have slight warming Friday and Saturday, getting up into about the mid-50s, so look forward to that. However, Saturday night, there is a chance of more snow coming through, so that will be dropping our temps once again, which will hold throughout the start of next week, meaning plenty more cold walks to class. Looking ahead now, as the Great Plains and Midwest are going to be seeing plenty of ice and snow blowing through, we do have a chance of severe weather and even a few tornadoes developing across the deep south here. The SPC has gone ahead and indicated a 15% risk for this Saturday night. We usually don't see that high confidence this far out, so that is a little bit of a stronger chance of this validating. So that's just something to keep an eye on as we move later into the week. This tornado threat is going to be driven primarily by an upper-level trough that's going to be moving across the south. We will be seeing a bit of warm, moist advection up from the Gulf of Mexico ahead of this line, as well as Cape values approaching 1,400 joules per kilogram. So that will be providing ample energy for some low-level tornadic development. If we look specifically here at Mississippi and Alabama, we do have a little bit of divergence in the 500 millibar flow, which will help provide further forcing for severe weather and those storms to rise up above the elevated mix layer. That's all for this week's weather. I'm Carter Reed. Stay safe out there.
Hello and welcome back to the desk. I'm Bruce Bigler.
And I'm Carter Reed.
Here to bring you some of the most exciting sports stories of the week. It's been a big one in sports, so let's hop right into it. Tulsa men's basketball team suffered a crushing loss to the 17th ranked Memphis Tigers last Wednesday, falling short 83-71 after keeping the first half within 5 points. Memphis pulled away around the 15-minute mark of the second half when the Tigers scored 9 unanswered points. This loss is made particularly difficult for the Golden Hurricane, as Memphis's leading scorer was former Tulsa guard P.J. Haggerty. Haggerty scored 23 points, followed closely by Dane Danya, who put up 21 points with 6 rebounds and 4 blocks. In comparison, Tulsa's leading 2 scorers were Tyshawn Archie and Dwan Odom, scoring 17 and 11 points respectively. Despite turnover problems and a number of injuries plaguing the Golden Hurricane, the closeness of the score in the first half should encourage those following the Tulsa men's team, should they be fully healthy in later parts of the season. Tulsa looks to improve their fortunes next week against the Temple Owls, a formidable foe who stands at 5th in the American with a record of 14-9.
The Lady Golden Hurricane basketball team bounced back after struggling in conference play with a dominant 81-53 win against the struggling Charlotte 49ers. In this matchup, Delaney Crawford led the team in scoring, putting 23 points towards the effort, overshadowing the 49ers leader, Kenna Rimbert's 12. The Lady Golden Hurricanes were not so fortunate on Saturday, however, losing in Greenville to the East Carolina Pirates 73-64. Delaney Crawford had another productive game, scoring 24 points, but it was not enough to overcome a highly efficient Pirates team. The Lady Golden Hurricane will be looking to add yet another conference win to their resume on Saturday against the North Texas Mean Green, who sit at 8-3 in conference play.
The Golden Hurricanes softball season had a strong start of the season, defeating Texas A&M Corpus Christi in a resounding 7-2 victory. In this matchup, Faith Russell led the Golden Hurricane in runs, being at bat a total of 4 times and recording 3 runs in the effort. Annika Dill and Clara Skaggs also totaled 2 runs in TU's first matchup of the season. On the other side of the ball, Tulsa's star pitcher Mara Moore only allowed 2 runs and totaled 7 strikeouts in 4.2 innings in the circle. Alexa Hopkins came in as relief and recorded 5 of her own strikeouts, continuing the team's dominance over the Islanders. Next week, the Golden Hurricane will appear in the I-10 Border Classic, hosted by McNeese State, where they will face the Missouri State Bears and the Nichols State Pirates on Friday.
Tulsa Oilers split their series with the Utah Grizzlies, going 1-1 in their last 2 matchups. The Oilers extended their season-high 5-game win streak with a 4-2 victory against the Grizzlies. The match started off with a goal for Utah by Reed Lebster. It wasn't long before the Oilers answered with a shot arcing above a defender, tying the game. Utah scored in the final minutes of the first period, bringing the score to 2-1 heading into the second period. From there, the Oilers would score 3 unanswered goals to seal the game in the third period, with the Grizzlies' offense sputtering out. In their next meeting, however, the Grizzlies would bring the Oilers' 5-game winning streak to an end, scoring 2 goals in just the first period, creating a lead that the Oilers would never overcome. Neither team would find the net in the second period, but the final period would see the Grizzlies extending their lead by 4-0 with goals by Cole Fonstadt and Reed Lebster. Sean Olsen would finally put the Oilers on the board, scoring 2 straight goals, but the Grizzlies would answer back with 2 more goals of their own, scored by Cole Fonstadt and Adam Berg, putting an end to the Oilers' hope for a comeback. The Oilers will look to bounce back next week in an exciting Valentine's Day matchup against the Kansas City Mavericks, a team that sits at 2nd in the Western Conference of the ECHL and is hot on a 3-game winning streak.
To discuss this week's events, we brought in our very own sports expert, Joseph McCurdy.
A sports expert, man. I really appreciate it. That's high praise for a lowly media
Hey, well,
studies
you
major.
deserve it.
I
What are your
appreciate
thoughts
that.
about Tulsa basketball going on right now?
You know, I think you guys covered it pretty well. Tulsa basketball has not been doing the hottest. It's been really unfortunate because I feel like Eric Conkle's been such a great face for that program. He just hasn't had the wins to back it up. Obviously, we played against PJ Haggerty this past week in Memphis. He was the freshman All-American that we had on our roster, but lost to the transfer portal. And when you lose a talent like that, I feel like it's hard to establish a culture, establish a winning team. And when you have constant overturn, it's really, really hard. But if you go back and look at their FAU loss, that was a complete embarrassment. And with the incoming AD in Justin Moore and the recent departure of Kevin Wilson, I would not be surprised one bit if we see a departure at the head basketball position in Eric Conkle. I would hate to see it. I feel like he hasn't really been given a shot, but in this day and age of men's basketball, I feel like it's a win now, especially with our culture, with our resources. It's pretty imperative that we have a winning program in both the basketball and the football fronts. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but times change. So
true. Well, turning from those fronts to maybe the third front, softball.
Softball,
as they call it, third front. Doing better on that end, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have given us reason to be excited. I feel like a lot of sports in the spring have given us reason to be excited. Softball obviously won. Men's tennis has picked up quite a bit. We'll see how rowing does. They're coming off a big season last year. But yeah, I mean, when you take the number 1 team in the country in Texas, you hold them to 3 hits, you out-hit them. But they did not, unfortunately, get the win. They held them 2-1 for the majority up until the 6th inning, I believe. But unfortunately, they just could not. They stranded too many runners. Softball is really a sport, especially in Oklahoma, when you've got Oklahoma State and Oklahoma really in that vicinity. It's really hard to recruit and keep that talent. So you need a lot of consistency. It's early in the season, and as we've seen, Tulsa likes to sputter out once it comes to conference play. But it's good to have some confidence in one of our ladies teams, and we talked about women's basketball. They've kind of petered off after last year winning the American Conference. So I'm excited to see what softball does. If once the weather gets warmer, it'll be exciting to get over to the field and watch some softball. So.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Joe.
Right, glad to be here. Hopefully, I'll be invited back.
Fingers crossed.
All right.
We'll have to check with the producers.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to sports.
Welcome back to the host chairs. I'm still Aristotle Orsini, but I'm now joined by Anderson Bell.
That's right. I'm not Joseph McCurdy. We had to let him go because of unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it here.
No, I will get into the fact that his name is not Joseph, though.
Really?
It's just Joe.
It's just Joe.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I might still call him Joseph on occasion anyway.
I do frequently.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff in today's show, though, wouldn't you say?
Lots of good stuff.
Lots of good stuff.
What was your favorite, Anderson?
My favorite part was probably the segment that I anchored, the news segment. That was very good. There was a lot of stuff going on in the news. Not very many good things, though, I will say, is what's unfortunate about the world today. And I wish more people would talk about the political, economic state of the world today.
Yeah, man. So, what's your major?
My major? It's political science, if you couldn't tell.
Oh, wow. All right, yeah.
Pretty crazy. But big things happening.
Big things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Making money moves.
Making money moves.
All right.
Anyway, how about that Super Bowl? Chiefs got destroyed.
Yeah, it was good to see.
Good
to
see.
You wasted all our time talking about making money moves, so
That's true.
We're going to have to let you guys go.
We'll see you next time.
I meant to say you flounce. I wanted